after invalidating everybody with a lot of information. So after invalidating everybody with a lot of information, we wanted to talk a little bit about how Apache CloudStack works in terms of the community and about how Apache works. As I said in the morning, Apache CloudStack is currently in incubating status. What incubating status means is it's not officially a Apache project. It's not a top-level project. But we are working toward what we call graduation, which would mean that we will be a top-level project like Tomcat. And in order to graduate from incubation, the main requirement is that we develop a community that works together, that talks about the issues together on the mailing list. And so it is very important that we advocate everybody to go onto the community to contribute, because that is actually what we gauge on graduation. So a little bit about Apache Foundation. It is formed to host open collaborative projects developed under the umbrella of ASF. Apache Foundation itself provides legal guidance, advice to the projects, but it does not control the projects themselves, the directions. The direction is always controlled by that particular community. And it promotes meritocracy, so no one is controlling say in how the project works. Everyone has a voice, and the voice is central. So some of the top-level projects for Apache, I think a lot of you know, HTTP, Apache HTTP, Tomcat, Hadoop, Cassandra, and of course then this is the most important incubator project, Apache CloudStack. And then I'm not sure what else is. So the roles that you play in Apache, you could be a user, which is someone who uses the product, which will mean that you can submit bugs and things of that sort, of that nature. You can be a developer, and now being a developer in Apache means that you are contributing code, but you are not at the level where you can contribute the code without having people review that particular set of codes. So there is an entire review process for a contributor or a developer. And then once you have done enough work in CloudStack as a community, then there will be people who would suggest that you can become a committer. And a committer basically has free rank to go and commit any code. And today, and then there is also a PPMV, which is a governing body. It really is a body that tries to make sure that the community is based on meritocracy, make sure that it can graduate, make sure it's performing as the mandate of Apache's process. And then there are ASF members who basically are people who looks at all the legal ramifications of Apache projects. And then there's the PMC, which manages this particular project. So there are many different ways you can contribute in CloudStack, being any one of them. And actually, I just learned today, because I was voted into a PPMC just October 30th of this year. And so I was learning about what PPMC really means. And for example, to be PPMC, it really just means that you have CloudStack future in your mind. You may not even have to know what the technical future should be, but as long as you're you are interested in developing and CloudStack's future, making sure it's going to be, the community is vibrant and strong, then you can actually devote it into PPMC. And so there's no technical classes here in these things. It's just a question of how committed you are to the community. So I think I showed this slide before. Since joining Apache in April, we have seen a 5-time pickup in our traffic. And right now the mailing list is very vibrant. I mean, if you join, I would suggest that you set up filters appropriately because there will be a lot of mail coming your way. But it is okay. If you're not interested, then come away the mail. But if you're interested, you can review it. For Apache's CloudStack's current status, it's been in incubation for about 6 months. Like I said, we contributed back in April. We just released Apache CloudStack 4.0. It will happen Tuesday of this week. Bug trackers wiki has been moved to Apache's infrastructure. The code repo has been moved to Apache Git. And we have many non-Citrix contributors, committers, and PPMC members. And I think, as I said, I think half of the PPMC members today are non-Citrix. So who's participating? And Coringo has contributed Object Store plugin, and Nisera controller, MVP controller by Hugo. Ceph RDB support was contributed by Vito. CLVM for KVM by Marcus. Cloudera is looking to put in Object Store. Midakura as being controller. Aisho Object Store. And then there's interest from CloudLight. There's actually quite a bit of others. I'm not going to go into all of them here. And then we are working toward 4.0 release. So in 4.0 release, we're looking to improve our package management. DevCloud improvements. So DevCloud is a development environment. I think someone was showing earlier today during the lightning talks that allows you to deploy cloud in one VM. It's cloud in VM. And you can put on your laptop, do development on it, and then do testing on that cloud. We're also doing the architecture, doing event. This is the proposal that I just sent out earlier. And storage re-architecture, that's also part of that particular proposal. Auto provisioning via kickstarts, expanding our test coverage, and documentation for all of this and more. So we have a lot of work to be done in CloudStack. So how to contribute? So number one is very important, I think, and that this is something that I myself is not used to because I'm a developer. To me, the best way to contribute is developing. But it turns out, that's not exactly what this is about. The first thing is the community. You have to grow the community. You have to make people. You have to invite people in to know that this community is vibrant and is active. So it's not all just about the code. It's about the discussions, honest doing designs, use cases, being able to look at other people's proposals, and comment on them, give the feedback. How are you using CloudStack, for example, and maybe that proposal doesn't work for you, you need to be able to give that feedback. It's about adding to our documentation, about doing reporting bugs and feature requests, doing code review, giving in feedback on any of the proposals, helping us manage our wiki and websites, doing build and tools and infrastructure to do releases. You can help out on the IRC and help other people. You can spread the word. So the most important is really your voice and your mind. time about participating in a community like this. And so there's quite a few ways to contribute. And this is the different ways. If you decide to contribute, you can come to these sites. Our project website is at incubator.apache.org/project/cloudstack.html. You can also go to www.cloudstack.org. This is a website that Citrix has decided to contribute to Apache. And then there's the mailing list. You can subscribe to CloudStack-dev-subscribe to be part of the developers list. You can also be at the users list if you are interested in using CloudStack. We're in Japan, and it might be tough to be on these lists because they're in English. And we have the same problem with Chinese users and Chinese developers. And we've actually have created sublists for Chinese speakers. And if there's enough requests, we can also create a list for Japanese speakers, where you can send to them and you can participate on the list that way if English is not your language. So definitely bring that up on the mailing list. Or if you can tell me today, I'll go and create it. So there's decision. On participating on the mailing list, there's different tags that you can use. I don't know how many people here already do this type of discussions. I wasn't really well with it. But if you want to discuss something, you can add in a tag called discuss, so that people can actually filter on the mailboxes, because there's a lot of mail. You can send out a request for comments, RFC, and just make sure you tag it correctly. There's also a vote, which gives you, which asks people to vote for different types of behaviors or different choices. There's an IRC, on irc.freenode.net. CloudStack-dev, and CloudStack-meeting. CloudStack-meeting meets every Wednesday, and that's actually wrong. It's not 5 UTC, it's a 1700 UTC. And you can participate that way if you join the IRC. And if you have questions and you're looking for someone to help you, you can join the IRC as well. Okay. So to file bugs in CloudStack, first you have to sign up on issues.apache.org, Jira, browse CloudStack. And then you should send an email list to the dev list, and says, I sign up and I would like to be a contributor to CloudStack. Now the reason why that's true is because you can see this issues.apache.org is actually for the entire Apache community. And in order for you to actually can register bugs and assign bugs to yourself, you have to tell us that even though you sign up for Apache, you actually want to specifically work on CloudStack, and we will make you into a contributor. Make sure you search. Do a search and see if the bug has not been filed before. If you need to, then file a new bug. When you file a new bug, make sure that you check the release that it was filed in and describe how to reproduce the bug in detail. And if you have any logs to add to the bug, you make sure you add logs. And generally, it shouldn't be add logs to the bug, because a lot of CloudStack problems are debugged through logs. But if you found a similar bug, or the bug has been filed, but it's not targeted to be fixed in the release that you want it to be fixed in, then you can create a subtask for that bug on issues.apache.org, and in the subtask you can specify the version that you want it to be. Now that's not guaranteed that we'll fix it in that version, but it definitely gives you some idea of whether or not it will be fixed in that version, because people will respond to that. Now, if you're interested in helping to fix bugs, you should sign up on the review board, assuming that you're not already a committer to CloudStack. And then there is a process that you can follow. It's actually one of the better documented things about CloudStack today. You can contribute to CloudStack Apache as a non-committer. And it gives you a list of things that you should do to Git, how to use the review board when you submit patches, what happens when you review, and you can read more about that. So that is here at this link, and that's the link here. So you should be able to do that. When you submit patches, so these are some of the things that was not talked about in that process, but I think we really should do. Every patch must have a bug ID in Jira. Jira is the issues.apache.org I talked about earlier. Every patch must provide unit testing, and be sure to mark off the status of the bug according to the workflow. And here is the workflow for Jira. So when you first create an issue, the status for that issue is in open state. And this is also useful if you are trying to see if bugs are being actively worked on as a user. So you can look through this as when you first open is an open state, and then when someone actually gets assigned the bug, that person will go into a in progress state. That's actually being covered by the little window there. But this is in progress. That means somebody is actually working on that bug. When that person is done, depending on if that person is a committer or not, he can either resolve it or he can submit it to the review board. So when it's ready to review, that means he already submitted to the review board. If it is being resolved, that means it has been committed to the branch. Now, it's possible that what he fixed broke things and people reopened the bug. So it's possible that it got reopened, and then that whole part, and then he can work on it again. And so when it's all done, then the bug will get into closed. So when you're doing search, you can also use this to figure out exactly whether or not someone is working on the bug that you're interested in. But if you are doing development, then you should follow this flow, and it's a very simple flow that you can access on CloudStack on Jira. Okay. So if you have any feature proposals, you can send email tagged with proposal in the subject line to cloudstack@incubator.apache.org. Now, in order for you to send anything to this mailing list, you have to follow the mailing list. So first, you have to subscribe to the mailing list. Make sure you put a summary of the problem and a summary of the solution that you're proposing, and you should give others times to read the proposal and comment. 1 week should be good. If there are no comments, there is what we call a lazy consensus. That means people basically have read it and agree that it can be done. But if there are comments, you should respond to them. And after all the comments have been resolved, then you can conclude on whether or not the proposal will continue and what branch and what co-branch you will be working in. And you can start a bug, and then what you should do is start a bug on Jira and indicate the release that you're going to be checking this in. When the feature is complete, then you can close the bug. So I have a special request that you should do, that I need to talk about localization. And that is one of the ways that you can contribute to CloudStack, because CloudStack still needs to be localized to quite a few different languages. Today we have support and simplified Chinese, support for Japanese and simplified Chinese. As the way that localization is done is to we take advantage of Java resource bundles to do localization. So you can actually create messages underscore a language code .properties under this directory, which is under client. And you can start adding localizations to what CloudStack needs. You can take a look at the Chinese one, or the Japanese one, and maybe fix up some of the bad Japanese that we put in maybe. So you can start that way. And then we also have a lot of issues with documentation. Being able to translate them. If you like to work in that area, you can send an email to the mailing list and that you're interested in working in this area, and our docs team will contact you about how you can help. All right, and go Cloud Monkey. This is our logo, by the way, our mascot, right? Proposed by Kim. So this is what's that name again? Sun Roku. In Chinese, it's Sun Wukong.